Welcome back everybody to another Geometry Dash tutorial. This one is going to be very interesting. So a lot of people have been asking me about how do we do a boss fight like Skeletal Shenanigans, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys a bunch of things to achieve something very similar to this. So again, my tutorials are super duper beginner friendly, so let's just go ahead and create a new level. And now that we are in here, the very first thing you want to do is come up with your boss fight style. So you're going to draw out your boss fight. Your boss, not your boss fight, because you can't draw a boss fight. Okay, I'm going to choose a song real quick by going onto here. And I'm trying to use the exact same song that was used in that level. And if you want to know what song it is, just go to the level, go onto here, and you're going to see it in here. So this is the ID 137003. Then you're going to go in here 137030, and there we go. We have this, and we want it to start at about 69, of course. And yeah, we're going to make it fade in. And now if you start, you're going to see that in here is where the drop is going to be. So we're going to do something like this. And we are, of course, going to change our speed to really fast. And now you guys can see that we have that, which is pretty cool. So let's first draw our boss. So how is he gonna look like? Now you can really do as you want for the boss, but I'm just gonna try to do something very simple because the art should be up to you. I'm just gonna be teaching you how to do like the mechanics and like the shooting effects and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go with something extremely simple using the pixel art. We're just gonna add a bunch of teeth in here and make sure it doesn't look too cursed. So something like this, and then we can give him a few eyes. Yeah, something like that looks pretty cool. Yeah, so it's basically like the press start RobTop styled boss fight, and honestly, it's pretty decent, I must say. So something like this kind of looks like a Clubstep monster, but I think it's pretty cool. So now that you have created your boss, make sure that it's two different sections. So we have the upper section and the bottom section. So how do we make this follow the player? Very, very simple. You're going to select everything. And then you're going to go to edit group and you're going to give it a new group ID. Let's say we give it the group ID of 1. So now what you want to do is add a move trigger right here. Go to edit object. Looks very complicated, but just enter in here 1, which is the group ID that we have used. And then do camera X, camera Y, and bring this to -1, which means infinite. So this is going to make the group ID 1, which is this, follow the camera on the X and Y forever. And now you guys can see that this guy is always on there, which is perfect. So you're going to adjust the position of this as well as this, just to make sure that he is kind of in the center of the screen, because that's what we're looking for. He still not is. By the way, now that we are at it, what I'm going to do is, you guys can see that we can't go up too far. So I'm going to go ahead and select this ship portal, click on edit object, free fly mode, and give it a bit of a settings. And now you should be able to fly around, and I'm going to make it a bit of a zoom out because we're going to have this some pretty dramatic. I'm going to make it pretty cool. So I'm going to do this one and a bit like that. This should be pretty good now. Let's give it a try. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Maybe a bit more like so. Yeah, so he's still not exactly in the center. So he just keep adjusting the positions of these, and now it looks pretty cool. He should like go up a bit, and yeah, he's almost in the center. That's pretty cool. So now how do we do the fire shooting stuff where he shoots stuff at you? It's very simple. We're going to take it step for step. So we're going to select the upper part, and then we're going to give it a new group ID on top of the old one. Exactly. So then the bottom one, we're going to give it a new group ID as well. So the upper one is 2. This one is 3. By the way, go in here, enable show object info so that you can see this stuff and you can see the group IDs in here. So now we're going to make the very quick animation for these guys. We're going to make it go down and then up really quick. So to do that, we're just going to make group ID 2 using the move trigger. We're going to make it go down by, I don't know, like 5. Let's give it a try. Is this too much? It's a bit too much, yeah. So we're going to do small step and -6 perhaps. So small step basically divides this by 3. So instead of 6, we're actually doing 2. And now you guys can see that, yeah, pretty cool. The reason why we do that instead of actually typing 2 is because sometimes we want to have a value that can't be typed. So if you type small step and 7 divided by 3 is 2 point something, and you can't type 2 point something in here. So that's why we do that. So we're going to do +6 for the group ID of 3, right? We copy and pasted this, and now this one should go up and this one should go down. Perfect. Actually, I'm gonna do C, so now we want to adjust it, so I'm gonna do 7 because I want it to kind of go like into each other. Yeah, exactly like that. And then he's gonna basically instantly just open his mouth, and to do that, you're just gonna select both of them, basically like copying them until this is done. And to enable this, go on here, settings and duration lines. Also enable this one while you're there, and this should show you the duration line. Now, these guys, select them, and we're gonna change the easing to elastic out, and we're gonna, of course, flip them. So instead of 7, we're gonna do -7 instead of what? Wait, this one is 7, this one is -7, so this one should be -7, and this one should be +7. Okay. Got it. So now, like that. Yeah, he did. Oh my god, this looks so cool. Okay, I actually got it first try. I thought I was gonna like change the move time or something, but yeah, that's pretty cool. So now he kind of closes down and then opens up. So before we actually add the fireballs, I just want to add something pretty cool, which is I want him to kind of close his eyes and then kind of shoot out as well. So to do that, we're just gonna select these guys. We're gonna copy and paste them, and we're gonna give them a new group ID on top of everything. The same with these guys, a new group ID after copying and pasting them. So there are 2 in here. And now we're gonna make 4 go down. So we're gonna go 4. We're gonna make it go down by maybe -2 because this is a very small thing. Yeah, that was pretty good. But a bit more, maybe -4 even should be pretty good. Yeah, so he did close his eyes, and now 5, we're gonna do +4. And yeah, that's phenomenal. And now same thing, just copy and paste them, and let's do elastic out as well. And in here, -4, just flip them. Instead of minus, do plus. Instead of 4. Oh, that's actually phenomenal. Yo, we're actually kind of cooking. All right, I guess now we can come to the fireballs adding. And fireballs is actually pretty cool to add. So what we're gonna do, first thing is we're gonna go up there and create our fireballs. So I'd like to use this one, and you're gonna go ahead and click on edit object and give it 2 different color IDs. These are called color IDs. And then after doing that, you're gonna select it and click on here, and then you can adjust the color from here so that you can see how it looks, which is pretty cool. So I like to have it something like this, but it looks very lame. So to make it look even epic, we're gonna add this one, which is a big secret, something I always love to add. And we're gonna do color 8, which is gonna be copy to color 7, right? So just copy the color and make it blending. What this will do is just copy this one, and it is also very blending. So now that we have this, actually I'm gonna make it, we're gonna need this color for later, but for now I'm gonna use color 3, which is white and blending, and we're gonna put it on top of it. So now we can see that if we scale it up a bit, it looks a lot cleaner. But come on, it's a fireball. It's going to be a lot more epic. So we're going to copy this one again. And what we're going to do, by the way, the scaling goes in here, edit, and then scale. And what we're going to do for this one is we're actually going to use this one, the color that we used before. But we're going to make it copy color 6. We wanted to copy the color red instead of yellow. And now we're going to make it really big. And this should be like an outer glow, basically. You can make it behind a bit bigger. And yeah, this is phenomenal. But now we also want to add particles, because it is all cool until you add a particle. Then it becomes epic. So we're gonna add a particle, and then we're gonna go to edit special. Looks scary, but don't worry. So the first thing we want to add is go to the texture and make this one, and then go to extra, start size end, and then in here 0.1, 0.1, go to visual, this one 0, this one 0, this one 0, go to here, make it like, I don't know, 10, and then the 0, 0, 0, 0. So all of these guys 0. This one should be around 3. Go to OK, save your level. This is very important. Now we can continue in here. So after doing that, you're going to bring this down to 0.2, this one to 0, and then you're going to click on max. Just click on max, and you should see this. And now you can adjust the scale in here, and the color is very important to change too. So now we have this kind of like explosion that's going on, which is so awesome when you add it on top of this guy. You can see it's glowing, which is so cool because you don't have to use triggers for it. And now we're also going to add another particle. I love just spamming particles and making them look awesome. I have a full tutorial on the particle system. You can also watch that. But for now, we're going to do 8 and 8, this one to 0. This one's like gonna be like a trail behind the fireball, so we're gonna bring this to 0 too. And we're gonna make it not too much of a like this. Always click calculate when you change the lifetime, or this one, or max, depending on what you want. So change the max particles and click this. Also go to extra, make it relative, and now if you move it around, you guys are gonna see that, yeah, looking like a trail. We're gonna make it fade out a bit at the end. Looks pretty cool. We're gonna make both of them red, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna change this one to make some of them a bit yellow sometimes, which is leads to this cool thing. And we're gonna change the size of it a bit like so. Lifetime should also be a bit bigger, like that perhaps. And yeah, looking pretty cool. So now we have this. If you add it on top of it and start moving it, you're gonna see that it looks phenomenal. So now I feel like there's some problems in here, and I feel like this is a bit too big, honestly, like that. And then this one is maybe it should change color, like yellow. Nah, actually pretty good. Red was pretty good. Okay, so like that. You can keep spicing it up because honestly, a fireball, it's pretty cool looking. So okay, so I'm gonna add a last particle. So we're gonna do this time, and we're gonna make it all zeros again. And we're gonna bring it from 0 size all the way to like 15, which is gonna do this. Just do a bit bigger, and we're gonna do a lot lower of these guys, and then we're gonna do calculate. And you guys are going to start to see that this is looking pretty cool. Make sure this is also 0 so that there isn't any randomness. And we're going to make the fade out a bit like that. And you guys are going to see that, yep, this is starting to look pretty good. We're going to bring the lifetime down to make it a bit faster. And we're going to bring up the scale. Also, you can change this one, actually, like that. And yeah, this looks pretty cool. Always make sure that your max part, after clicking calculate, just make sure that your max particle is 1 above. This way it's much smoother. So check this out. You see this is much smoother than this. So if you do this, see there's like it kind of cuts. I don't know why, but just make this 1 bigger than what calculate wants. And now it should be much smoother. So adding this on top should be very, very cool. But I don't like the size of it, so I'm going to do something a bit smaller, like that. Maybe a bit more big, like so. Maybe a bit more, actually. And yeah, also going to make it in the background, something like that. Looks pretty decent. And also, we don't want to have too many particles, because otherwise it's going to lead to some bugs. So click calculate, and then make it 1 bigger, like that. And yeah, you guys can see that we have created a beautiful fireball. So now how do we make this guy actually shoot this fireball? It is pretty easy. And the reason why we created this up there is because it has to be up there. So the first thing you want to do is give everything, so the fireball, give it a new group ID. Let's say we give it 6, and then you want to specify where is the exact position where the fireball should be shot out of. So you're going to add an X, or pretty much any object you want. So I'm going to add a small X right here, and we're going to give it the group ID of 1, because this shenanigan, skeleton, whatever, is on group ID of 1. And now if you start, you should see that this is perfectly there. And then you're going to give it a new group ID of 7. And now it's all about moving this all the way down here. That's it. We just want to move this fireball to here. And to do that, we're going to add a move trigger right here. And we're going to move the fireball, which is 6, towards this X, which is 7. So we're going to go to here, edit object, move 6 towards 7. So this is how you move something towards something else. Make sure dynamic mode is enabled, and also silent. Bring this all the way down to 0. And now what you guys should see that, yeah, he shot a fireball, which is so awesome. But there's a small problem. First of all, you guys can see that there isn't any time to react, and it doesn't look that cool, and there's a lot of stuff to be added to make it look awesome. So the first thing we're going to do is we actually want the fireball to kind of shoot towards the right. So to do that, we're going to copy and paste this one. We're going to remove these guys, and we're going to make it just go to the right by, let's say, elastic out with a bit of a speed. A bit more, actually, X maybe like 44. And now you guys should see that he shot it towards the right, which is pretty cool. So I would say let's just adjust this to the liking that we want, something that fits perfect. Oh, that was phenomenal. That was pretty good. Okay, so that's pretty good, but there's a lot of stuff. I have a lot of ways to make it even better. So you want to make sure that the player really has time to react. So I think this was a bit too sudden. I'm gonna bring it up a bit even more. Actually, let's just do 100, 133. Let's see if that's gonna look cool. Yeah, so this is in more than enough time for the player to react, which is exactly what we want. 100 objects so far, and we have saved the level. Right, now how do you make this even crazier? So we're gonna add a scale trigger to bring a lot of perspective to this. And to do that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna firstly scale this fireball down. So we're gonna add a scale trigger, edit object, scale 6, down by 0.5, actually 0.25, and instantly. And as soon as he shoots it, what we're going to do is we are going to be scaling it up to its normal size. So enabling these guys is basically having this value as 1 divided by the value that you currently have, which basically just means bring it back to its original value. So we're going to do ease out. Then this is the secret part. We're going to copy and paste it, move it a bit around, and we're going to make it ease in and out. And we're going to make this go all the way to 2. And this is going to take quite a while, which is why I want to add it somewhere in here. So check this out. So now what's going to happen is that it's going to spawn really small, and then it's slowly going to get bigger and bigger, which now if you look at it and add a background speed trigger, you're gonna see that there is a lot of perspective to this. You can see that now it's like really visible that the boss is far in the background, right? This is exactly what we want. We brought perspective to this, which is perfect. Though one thing I love to do is to add a time warp trigger right before he shoots and bring it all the way to 0.1. Why? Because I want to see exactly what is going on and if there are any issues. So one thing I saw is that there isn't any recoil for the boss fight, so he doesn't move when he shoots, which doesn't make that much sense. So we're going to add a move trigger right here, and what we're going to do is make it move in about like this. Let's do elastic out. We're going to move him to the opposite side of where we shot the fireball to, so maybe -7. And then we're going to bring him slowly back to his original position, which is this. Slowly, of course. And now he should have a little bit of a recoil. Yeah, I saw that. This is exactly like the small details that makes a level from featured to epic or from epic to legendary. So now I think this should be a bit lower time. Now, of course, if you have a level like this, it's not gonna get any rate, but I'm talking about like the small details that you need to add in order to make these like differences in your level. And yeah, this is looking pretty cool. Honestly, I think the recoil should be a bit bigger. So let's do something like this, and yeah, looks pretty cool. And I think the fireball should scale up quite faster than that. So let's do maybe something 0. That, and this one. I like to have this one a bit bigger so that it feels like the boss fight is like the boss is like really far behind, and he's shooting at you who is sitting in the front. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, now we're gonna get rid of the time warp trigger and see if there's any issues. So yeah, doesn't seem like it. It seems pretty good. So now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna make him just charge, you can say. And to do that, we're gonna make his eyes turn into a different color. And to do that, we're just gonna add eyes like so. We're gonna select any of the objects in here, but not the ones that we added up here. So select maybe this corner, copy values, like these guys, paste state. And now what you want to do is add them to a like color ID. Let's use 19, make it blending and black. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pulse 19 in here, add this. So we're going to pulse the color channel of 19 slowly to red. We're going to do this, and then it's going to let go. And now you just adjust the fade in so that it basically ends right here. So fade in should be like that. Yeah, actually I'm going to do 0.5 so that it kind of goes in there. And now you guys can see that his eyes are even turning red, which is just phenomenal. Okay, so we want this to be like really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the fireball, go to edit special, make it disable. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it manually. So we're going to go to here, and then we're going to add a rotate trigger. We're going to rotate 6, let's say maybe something like 360 and a bit more, maybe something like that. elastic out. You do this as 1 and this as 0, it is basically the same as just 360. We're going to do 360 2 times, so that is 720. And if we do this and play, we're going to see how that's going to look like. And this is a very detailed thing, so I'm going to add a time warp trigger so that we see it in pure detail. And now we're going to see that, yeah, it is kind of shooting out, which is just so cool looking. And now let's give it a try. Shoot like that. Yeah, that was pretty good. Okay, now one thing I love to do is to kind of make it keep rotating. So to do that, we're just gonna add, let's say like +6 even, and in some really long time. Let's say something like this, and now it's gonna just keep rotating, but not as fast, right? Yeah, it is very slow. Let's actually just do +20 or something. And also let's bring this up a bit. This one, let's go, I don't know, like, let's do 2000. That was 200. Let's do 2060. This one shouldn't be that much because we don't want to slow the game too much down. All right, and now it is still rotating, which, yeah, looks pretty cool. Now I'm thinking about it, and this should actually be on none to just bring a bit less weirdness to it. And now, yeah, it is rotating, and it did a full kind of like a few 360s as soon as it launched. So yeah, that is pretty good. Okay, so one thing I love to add about boss fights is a charging animation using the particles. So we're gonna add this, and then I'm gonna try to do something that I've not done before. We're gonna use this, and we're gonna make it kind of go from there to the bottom. So we're gonna use radius, and we're gonna do this one big, the other one small. And yeah, I think it's starting to work. We're gonna bring this one down, this one to 0, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it dynamic rotation, and also start rotation is equal to the rotation of the direction. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do start, actually we're gonna make it, hold up, so if you do a bit of a spin, yeah, you guys can see that it's starting to look pretty nice. And now what we're gonna do is we're going to make it a bit of a fade out, perhaps. Yeah, sounds pretty good. And we're gonna make it a bit faster by bringing this down like so, a bit more, and like that we have a pretty good looking like charging animation. And you guys are gonna see that this is gonna look pretty cool because he's gonna close his mouth. And I'm gonna use the warping system just to make it a bit like that, and I feel like it's very close. And remember, just add it in here because if he closes his mouth, this is gonna be like the end spot. And we're gonna select both of them after copying and pasting. We're gonna give them, of course, the group ID of 1 because this is everything the boss has related to it. And then we're gonna make them another group ID of 8. And then it is very important to add a duration in here and not make it infinite. So this actually a bit more like that is the full charge. And then we're gonna go to extra, animate on trigger, animate active only, quick start. And now if you do that, it should stop animating until you add the animate trigger and animate group ID 8, which is the group ID that we added. So we're gonna do this in here. We're gonna do 8, and we're gonna add a time warp trigger just to see how that looks. And now you guys can see that he's charging, but one issue is that they should not be quick start, because quick start doesn't really make that much sense in here because, oh, that is phenomenal. One issue is that they're a bit too slow. I don't know, maybe because we had time warp trigger, but either way, I think they were a bit too small. Click on this. Also, they lived for too long, so let's do 0.5 around that. And now they're gonna charge, and that is just so good. Really love it. Okay, select 2 and bring this a bit down because I felt like that was a bit too much. Also, this one a bit like that. Also, that one just a tiny bit. And now it's really just about like adjusting stuff. And he charged and he shot it down, which is just so cool. Okay, now let's make him shoot more. How do you make him shoot more fireballs? So to do that, it's a bit complicated, but I'm going to show you exactly how. So first thing you want to specify is how many fireballs do you want to have at maximum on one screen. I would say let's have like 5, maybe 10. Let's do 10 just to be a bit more, add more fun to the entire game. So the first thing you want to do is split the triggers between what is fireball related and what is not fireball related. So these guys are fireball related, of course, and these guys are just boss related. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select all of the shooting. So this does not belong to it because this just scales this down. We're going to select everything. Then we're going to give them a new group ID 9. And then we're going to go to edit object, spawn, and multi-trigger. And now what's going to happen is that nothing is going to happen because these triggers are not being triggered. You have to trigger them using a spawn trigger. And in here, if you put 9 and also spawn ordered, it should spawn everything perfectly. And now I realized Did I actually move these guys? I don't remember moving them, but whatever. We're gonna move them to here. Did I really move them? I don't know. I might be tripping, but whatever. Now we fixed it, and yeah, he's shooting stuff, and perfect. Now, if you want to adjust it, you can adjust it as well. But what you guys are gonna see is that if you add this again, like later on, he's gonna actually shoot 2 times. So once and then twice. But yeah, it's not that easy. But yeah, we're gonna do that. That's why you need to specify how many fireballs you want to have at max. And so what we're gonna do firstly is we're gonna go ahead and change the scale of the fireball as soon as it leaves the screen. So remember, the fireball by default has this scale, and then it goes down to 0.25, and then we bring it to its normal size, which is this, and then we make it 2 times bigger, right? So to bring it back to its normal size, we have to reverse these scaling effects. So to do that, we're going to copy and paste this one and add it in here. Click on edit object and just divide by x, divide by y, and do this to 0. Also this one to none if you want to. This one like that. Copy the second one, and this one we want it to be like this and none, and this should bring it back to its normal size, which is 0.25. So how do we exactly know if this is correct? So we're going to add a time warp trigger first of all, not too much, let's do 0.5, and now we're going to see that the fireball is going to scale, and then all of a sudden, okay, that was first of all, I'm going to get rid of this, and we're going to add this right here, and then I'm just going to make the camera go static on the fireball. All right, we're going to do static 6, but it's not going to work because none of these are parent. So just select anything in here, go to edit group, fix, and just add the P, and now the camera is going to follow that thing. Just make sure that this one's actually 0, because yeah, now what's going to happen is that we're going to see the fireball, and if it's really rotating, see, it scaled down to 0.25, which is exactly what we want. So perfect. Now you can get rid of this, and if you want to, you can make this not parent as well. So that was just for debugging, and now we know that the fireball is back to its original size. Why is this important? Because if we reuse this, it's going to be ready for use. So yeah, now we're going to, the reason why we split them is because we need to specify which fireball is going to be triggered. So now we're coming to some complicated systems, I would say. So we're going to select everything that is related to the fireball, and then we're going to click on edit group. We're going to get rid of the old group ID and give them the group ID of 10. And now by adding a spawn trigger in here and spawning 10 on spawn ordered, and having that trigger only enable when it is triggered by something else, and then copying the values from this, pasting the state on this, it should produce the exact same effect where he just shoots the fireball. Now what we did here is basically separate these into a separate group so that we can spawn it with a spawn trigger, and this is important because we're going to have multiple fireballs. So we're going to add this like that because 6 belongs to this fireball, and now we're just going to add a second fireball. So we're going to copy and paste everything, do this. What you can do is you click on here and just do this build helper, and what this is going to do is make all of these 11 and this 11, which is exactly what we want. So now what we can do is we can decide if you want to shoot this fireball or this. How? Well, we need to, let's say we want to do 11. We go to this spawn, and then we do edit object, this, and then in here just do, instead of 6, we want to do it with 11. So instead of doing it with this fireball, we want to do it with this. So it does all of these guys, but instead of using the group ID of 6, it actually uses 11. And now if we, let's say, change the color of this to purple, let's say purple, like let's do just something different. Let's say something like this. You guys are going to see that the fireball is going to be purple. Perfect. And now we're actually going to bring this back to its normal color. Let's do this. All right, cool. We can actually play around with the color of the balls later on, but now we're going to have to use the sequence trigger. And it sounds complicated, but trust me, it's not. So we're going to go ahead and copy and paste this one to here, and we're going to remove these guys. So this one is a normal call to these triggers. So it just spawns this one, right? And this one is a call to these triggers, but instead of 6, we're using 11. So what we're going to do is just copy and paste as many as we want. So we're going to have these as 12, copy and paste these as 13, 14, and these as 15, 16. Let's see, how many fireballs do we have? 7. We still need 3. So we're going to do this, build helper. Now we have 10 different fireballs. So know that it's 10, just select them and here it says 10. So now we're gonna have to add a spawn trigger for each one of them. So this one was 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way to 18. So we're gonna copy this one, the second one that has these guys, and then you're gonna do, instead of 6, we want to do 12, right? And then instead of 6, we want to do 13, and instead of 6, we want to do 14. So we're just basically adding spawn triggers for each and every single one of these guys. And it's actually a pretty repetitive task, but once you have it done, it's gonna look phenomenal. So 18 is exactly how many fireballs we have. Actually, it's 19 because this guy was stuck in here. But now what we should do is spawn this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and it should basically spawn them like that as we want. So now we're gonna move these guys up here, and we're gonna remove the group ID that they had. And instead what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and click on new group X, and this is gonna assign a new group ID to each one of them. So this is 20 in here, this is 21, 22. So now we're almost done. You just go ahead and add a sequence trigger and see what group ID this has. So 20 until 29. Just go ahead to the sequence, go in here 20 until 29. So just keep doing this, which is basically saying spawn this, and then that, and then that, and then that, all of them in a sequence. 29 we said, yeah, 29. So 10, exactly what we want, and then do mood loop, and then this, and we're gonna add this right here. So we're gonna copy the values and we're gonna paste them onto the sequence, and we are done. What this is gonna do is the first time he shoots a fireball, he's actually gonna trigger the first one, which is 20. 20 is this, and it doesn't have anything in here, which means it just goes along with the 6. But the next time he shoots a fireball, this one actually triggers the second group ID, which means it's going to do this instead of this. And what this one does is does 6 instead of 11, which is, 11 instead of 6. So it's going to do this fireball instead of this, and so on and so forth, which is perfect. Now we should be able to shoot different fireballs, hopefully. Let's just give it a try. Maybe I missed something, but we're just going to literally just copy and paste the same trigger, and it should work. So we're going to do like 0.74. Now the first fireball he has shot, and the second fireball he has shot. That is phenomenal. Now we can do like overlapping fireballs, and look at this, he's charging and he even shot it towards the front. Now adding them too close to each other is gonna be a bit weird, because he's gonna have to like charge while he's charging, which is a bit weird. But if you want to have it, you can see, not too close. If you add it too close, it's gonna be a bit weird. But if you really want them to be close, what you can do is just bring these guys the values down so that the charging time is much less. It depends on what you want. I'm just gonna do something simple, but if you really want to do it, just bring all of these guys, just make them a bit less, including this one, and also the charging animation over here, and then you can just bring these to whatever you want, where the line basically ends. So that is phenomenal. So now he can basically shoot 2 fireballs, but the problem here is that all the fireballs go in the exact same direction, which is not that very cool. And a way to fix this is actually, there are many ways to fix this. You can use the area move trigger if you want to, but that's going to be buggy and might be impossible. But what we're going to do, when I say it might be impossible, I mean the level might be impossible to beat because of a random seed. But we're going to do something that's not random, and we're going to go ahead and add a move trigger to these guys. So just pause the game and save, because we have 200 objects. Let's go. That's actually not much at all. 200 objects and we almost have a full boss fight. That's pretty cool. Right, so we're going to go ahead and add a move trigger. So the first one is just going to go straight, and then the second one, I would say let's have it go a bit different. We're going to copy the values from this one, paste the state, and then we're going to do fireball 11. So fireball 11, you're going to go slightly up. So you can do that. However, it's very important to know exactly what's going to happen. Why? Because first of all, let's actually make this spawn and multi. And now remember what we did with the fireball. So in here, we moved it towards 7. Remember, we moved the fireball towards this X instantly. So if we start moving the fireball before we do that, then it's basically going to move the fireball up, and then it's going to move it to here, which basically means this has no meaning. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a move time so that it doesn't do it instantly. And now what we're going to do is time warp right here should be good, like that. And this one 11, let me just double check that everything is correctly. This should now have a different trajectory. So if he shoots this one directly right there, and this one is going up, that is so phenomenal. You can change it if you wanted to go like far up, but I'm just going to do this, and now it is very simple. We just copy and paste and just double check what this one is. So this one is 12, so we're gonna do 12 actually 12, and this one's gonna shoot down, and then copy and paste, and this one is I would say let's have it a bit far up, but it's gonna last some time, something like this. This one copy and paste. Actually I did a mistake. This one 13 and this one is 14. And now what we're gonna do is let's do another one that goes down, and then copy and paste 15. Let's have a quick one that goes down, and now we're just gonna have one that goes straight into the center, so we're gonna skip that, and this one is gonna go a bit like maybe this. I don't know how this is gonna look like, but we're really just messing around with the values and trying to see what we can achieve. So now let's just do the exact opposite so that it's symmetrical, and now if we just start spamming fireballs, all of them should be pretty random. Not random, they have a pattern, but they're not all going the same. Oh, that is actually so cool. Yeah, this is so nice. Oh my god, it's actually so fire. All right, it is literally fire. It's fireballs even. All right, so we're gonna spice it up even more. You guys have no clue. This is actually so fun. Oh my, this is so fun playing it in full speed. Yo, that's actually so hype. My goodness. Okay, this is actually pretty good. Yo, you even have time to react. So you see, so some fireballs actually went a tiny bit too far. So this one was actually a bit too far. So maybe 60 and these values in the range, that's a bit too much. So we're gonna bring them down, and let's see. So this one's a bit too much too. Or you can just like make them big speed, like more time give them, so that it just happen. Actually, I feel like the rotation is a bit weird for some reason. Ooh, I see why, because it's basically like it's just not stopping. So to fix that, we're just gonna make the fireball like this is where you can't see the fireball anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and reduce this to like maybe 1.5. Yeah, 1.5 sounds good. So it was 11 and this one was 6, so we're gonna have to divide the number by quite a few, which is gonna be 4. This one is also too much. Let's actually just get rid of this. We don't need this. And now the fireballs should rotate, and they're still like spinning crazy. Why is that? Let's actually just bring this down to like 2. Maybe this is gonna help. Let's see. Is it gonna start? Yeah, this is much better now. Oh, this is actually so fire, dude. This is hype. Oh my god, this is so cool. I can't imagine, dude. I am absolutely in love with it. By the way, one thing that is just insane, I'm gonna add it. It's very simple to add, but just gonna add this. My god. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of the fireballs. This is a bit controversial, not controversial, but it's kind of some people might not like it because it's gonna be a bit random. But we're gonna select all the fireballs and give them a new group ID, all of them together. And now remember the group ID, it's 30, and we're gonna add a area scale. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna make area scale affect the 30 on the camera. So we're gonna do cam, and now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do 2 just for testing. We're just gonna do 2, and we're gonna bring this to 100 and the dead zone to 1. And now what's gonna happen is that if we make, actually we don't need to make it slower. Okay, so now every single fireball is gonna be super big. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this 1, and then we're gonna add a bit of randomness. Actually, I'm gonna do 0.7, 0.8, let's do 0.9, and then in here 0.2, 0.2. And now what this is gonna do is it's basically gonna give, what the heck? Okay. Oh, actually, I didn't think of that. That's actually not that good. Oh no, there isn't an option to have these linked. I never actually thought of that. Okay, that doesn't really work, so I just got rid of it. But if you want to do it, what you can do is you can add stuff to this one. So this is the fireball, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy the values, paste the state over here, and we're gonna do 6, and in here we're just gonna scale it to 1.2 by basically like 0.75, and then that, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add it right here, and we're gonna add another one right there, which is gonna bring it back to its original value instantly, of course, without any of these guys. And now you're gonna give them a new group ID. Actually 10 was useless, so 31, then you're gonna spawn 31 right here and make this spawn triggered, also spawn ordered, copy values, paste state. And what this is gonna do is just make every single fireball just a tiny bit bigger, which is not exactly what we want, so we're gonna keep spicing it up. So we're gonna copy and paste these guys, and we're gonna do 1.1, and then we're gonna do 0.9, 0.9, and then we're gonna do copy and paste 0.8, 0.8, and yeah, I think 4 should be pretty good. Okay, so give them all different group group ID. So these ones are 31, 32. This one is 33. This one is 34. And then make it spawn them. So 31, 32, 33, 34. And now all of these guys should be a new group X. And now we have all of these guys, which is starting from 35 to 38. And now we're going to add an advanced random trigger. Copy the values, paste the state, and now 35 to 38. So 35, 36, 7, and 8. And now do these guys, and yeah, now every time a fireball is about to launch, it's gonna choose a random scale of one of these guys and then bring it back to its original size. This isn't exactly what I was trying to do with the scale trigger, but there isn't any way to link the X with the Y. But thank God we actually got this idea. It is actually brilliant. And now each fireball is gonna have a slight different, like scale, which is pretty cool because it feels like some of them are in the background, kind of, and some of them are more in the foreground, which is just so cool. It's actually so phenomenal. Now, one thing that you guys might have noticed is that the first fireball goes straight in the center, and then pretty much almost all of them go up or down, which means if you just stay straight, it's safe. So if I were you, I would just get rid of one of these guys just to make sure that at least one of these fireballs kind of goes into the center and annoys the player. Because if somebody is practicing this, they're gonna see, oh wait, I can just stay in the center, which is, yeah, we don't want that. Okay, so I would say just a bit more spicing it up with some shaders is always a why not. So a shockwave effect is gonna be pretty cool, but we're not gonna go too crazy because we have a lot of fireballs shooting out. Okay, so how do we do this? We're gonna bring, let's just go to here and then play around with the thickness. So like this is, let's do something like that, and then the width should be, let's say, I don't want it to be too crazy. Actually, this one like that should be pretty good. Okay, actually that's the thickness is a bit too much and the width is also not very cool, so something like this should be pretty good. All right, so we're gonna do a fade in and also fade out a tiny bit, and now we're gonna bring down the strength so it isn't too crazy, and we're gonna add this right here where the boss fight shoots, and we're gonna make it spawn multi-trigger target 1, and what this is gonna do is just target 1. It makes a lot of sense. All right, and now there should be a shader playing. No, for some reason. Yeah, the reason why is because we need to make it 7, because there's a lot of group IDs that are 1, so the game doesn't really know which one you mean. But this one, there's only one of it, which is 7. So yeah, that's also the place that we want. Okay, that's terrible. We're gonna do follow, because we wanted to follow, of course. We wanted to follow. Ooh, that's actually pretty cool. But now you guys can see that the thing kind of cuts, which is not very cool. So we're gonna do fade out, or okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna select this one and add preview in here, which is basically gonna show you the thing, which is pretty cool. So you guys can see that this one kind of goes on for quite a while. So I'm gonna have to make it a max size. Maybe it should help. Okay, so a max size. Yeah, that actually does pretty help. That's pretty good. Okay, so something like this. It should basically like finish pretty quickly so that it is ready for the next fireball. Okay, so let's give it a try and see how that is. Actually, the position is a bit too bad, so maybe a bit of a time off might be helpful in here. So yeah, these values that Rob provided are actually pretty W, I must say. So 0.3, and let's see if this one's gonna help. Actually, a bit more. Dude, we're almost to 0.5. Let's just go 0.5. Maybe that's the value. Okay, no, it's actually 1.488, but now you guys can see that he is actually shooting stuff, which is pretty phenomenal. But to make this like in the background, sort of, what you can do is just do this, add shader, and then make background. And now this is only going to appear in the background, and it is pretty much invisible. So we're going to actually get rid of that. Also, one thing that I would like to do is just pulse the whole boss to kind of like, I would say red, just a tiny bit. So like that. And now what he's going to do is just pulse to red every time he jumps, which is a bit too heavy. So we're going to do something like that. And now he's shooting. I don't like the shader for some reason. I think maybe the strength should be a bit lower. And now, ooh, yeah, that actually looks pretty good. Okay, let's actually change the background to something more dramatic. dramatic. So if you're in a dungeon, let's use these guys. Actually, there was one that I really like. Where is it? There's so many. It is absolutely insane. Yeah, I think it's this one. And then we're going to make the background a bit more spicy. We're going to make it firstly gray. And then we're going to add a gradient trigger. And then we're going to give it a new color. Let's say you give it 2. You make this one kind of like purple. We go to edit special, make it, let's say, yeah, let's do multiply. Make sure background is selected. Let me just save my level because I feel like the game is about to crash. But what we're going to do is add this at the very beginning, of course. And then is there anything else? Let's also change this one just to add more beautifulness to it, like that. All right, so we have a purple thing. Let's make the ground black. And is there any more thing we can spice this thing up with? Because this is pretty good so far. Okay, now one thing you could also do that I kind of thought of is making this guy rotate. Since we already have these triggers, how about we also add a rotation for the boss fight? Just a tiny bit. We're gonna do one around 7. We're gonna do like +3 degrees in about elastic like that, and then this, and then we're gonna make sure it has the same group ID and also the same position, which is why I'm gonna move these up a bit so that we have a bit more space. So this one, and then it's slowly gonna go back to -3, which is gonna happen pretty slowly like that. And we're gonna copy and paste them, copy, paste, and this one's gonna go -3 first and then +3, and then let's move it up a bit more so that we have more space. Copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, select, move up, and now this one should be -5, this one 5, so everything just make it 5 just so that it's just a bit of a randomness for the boss fight's rotation. Also, this one has to be somewhere in here like that, and now we should do a bit of a, oh, that's actually pretty cool. Just a bit of a small rotation is pretty good. You could also make him scale a bit, but making him scale down is might actually pretty W. So 1, 7, 0.81, let's say, and then let's do elastic out as always for a pretty sudden movement. Copy and paste, 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 copy and paste. Select everything, move them up, and then these guys, first thing is we're actually gonna change the scale to a bit of a random scale. Actually, there isn't any point of doing any of this. We can just do that like every time because scaling is pretty important. We're gonna do 0.8 and we're gonna scale it up back to normal in about like 0. Let's do 1. Let's do 1, exactly 1. And now he should scale down when he's shooting. Yeah, that's pretty good. Though I feel like the rotation is not going back as fast as I want. So I'm gonna bring these guys down like so. And then we're gonna move these all the way to here so that it's a bit faster. And now it should do, yeah, exactly what I want. Okay, now you could spice this up even more. And I'm gonna do that by adding a shake trigger to here just to make the camera shake every time he shoots a fireball, which is, yeah, it's always a why not. And let's see if this value is pretty good. Can you see shake? Yeah, you can see shake in the editor as of 2.2. And yeah, that's pretty nice. Make it a bit more. Ooh, I thought of an idea. What if we make the camera follow 1, actually follow 7 like that? What this is gonna do is just make it basically follow all of the movements. Okay, that's actually pretty bad because now this one should be following the player. So that's, ooh, that's actually pretty decent. Yo, wait, I have actually created something crazy because now your position is always related to him. This is, oh my god, I did not think this was gonna happen, but that's pretty cool. Okay, though I think it is a bit too much, so I'm gonna actually start using a bit more of an advanced trigger. So we're gonna do 1 towards 1, and we're gonna do a bit of a delay and easing as well. So what this is gonna do is make the, actually we need a parent now. We're gonna make this one the parent, or which one should be the parent? Let's make his forehead the parent because why not? Okay, so now he is following, but there isn't an offset. This is the craziest thing. There is not an offset option in the advanced follow trigger. The most advanced thing ever. There is no offset for it. Okay, so a way to fix this is just to do this and do 1. And this is yeah, not too great of a fix, but it does something. So now the boss, oh my god, this is actually crazy. This is so insane, dude. But yeah, let's see. So he's gonna keep shooting stuff at you. Oh my god, this is it's so dramatic, and what the camera movements make it even crazier, dude. Okay, so you can really choose what you want to do. do, if you want him to be a bit farther from you, just bring this to here so that you have a bit more time to react. And yeah, this is pretty good. I feel like he's a bit too small, honestly. So I'm gonna go ahead and make him bigger, just by default. Just be bigger, just by default. So I'm gonna do this, make sure he doesn't have any group IDs. And yeah, that's actually much cleaner. So yeah, that is pretty cool. Okay, I don't like this one is a bit too sudden. So I'm gonna do a bit of an easing in here. Oh, that's actually so much cleaner. And now you guys can see that we have brought so much dynamics to this. It is beautiful. Okay, so one thing I'm gonna do is gonna bring this all the way to here. And I'm thinking of already doing this at the beginning so that, yeah, something like that. And then we're gonna do like a bit of an animation for the boss. And to do that, we're just simply gonna copy and paste these two to here, maybe. And then we're gonna make him kind of like scale up a bit. Like, yeah, actually 0.9, slowly, like that. And then we're gonna bring him back to his original thing. And also a bit of a rotation is a why not, honestly. So let's do this, and then this one brings him directly back to his, let's do elastic out, and this should have added like a bit of an animation. Yeah, no, it didn't. Why? Because some of these are on this, which is not what we want. Yeah, that was pretty good. So we're gonna add a zoom in as well. Zoom in, a bit of a, let's say, elastic out as well. Okay, so that was pretty good. So something like this, and then he goes crazy. Okay, so these guys, I'm actually gonna make them a bit like that, like the eyes kind of closing, because I feel like it should be a bit bigger. Yeah, a bit more of an effect. And now, yeah, it is pretty cool. So now it's all about lining them up with the song. So now we're gonna get rid of this. I don't know why it was there. So to line it up with the song, we're just gonna do this. So this is the distance. We're gonna disable the ground, and we're gonna see this is where the fireball is getting shot. So we're gonna link these, and the first fireball we want to shoot is right here. So you're just gonna go ahead and play the song and see where you want the fireballs to shoot. So in here there's a triple one actually, so something like this, I think. Yeah, so this is like a triple. Okay, and then another one in here, and then another one perhaps in here. Yeah, so now if you listen to the song very careful, I'm gonna make it a bit like that. You guys should hear that the song is actually pretty bad. Not bad, I mean. Okay, so we have added a lot of X's. So now it's all about lining these up in here with the X's. So just to know where to place the spawn. So the first one has to be in here, second one has to be in here, third one right there, and right here. So now what we can do is just see where, so this is the fireball shooting right here, and we can get rid of all the X's and the stars later on, but I might actually just keep them because I think it's a pretty good way to indicate where the shootings are, because there's a bit of a delay because he's charging always, right? So 300 object, that is nothing. All right, so let's give it a try and see. Okay, he's actually going insane. Check this out. Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, we did a bit too much, and also in here we forgot to remove these guys, so that is not very cool. And let's see. Okay, the music sync isn't that great for some reason. Okay, so the thing is, we have already like made the offset, so perhaps it's just about lining these up like that. Okay, yeah, so you just have to move them. Actually, I'm not gonna make him shoot the first one because otherwise it would be a bit too quick. So just kind of move them and see where. Okay, so now he literally shot 3 balls at once, which is pretty good. Okay, so I might actually just add a random one right here. Oh my god, that's actually so nice. Check this out. Oh my god, although he does like charge too much, but I think the music sync is so good. Okay, last thing is our camera rotate. That is, I don't know how I forgot that, but we're gonna add a bit of a rotation right here because that's what RobTop said in Dash, and we can't let him down, right? Okay, so one thing is that the camera should also be a bit more like that, just so that you have more time to react. Yeah, so now the boss is somewhere in the center. Now the cool thing is you can literally add as many fireballs as you want, as long as there aren't 10 at once. So I also realized that the camera is a bit too weird as soon as you go into here. So to fix this, I'm just gonna make the camera exit the static really quickly, like so, and then I'm gonna make it enter the static again as it used to be. So yeah, that is much smoother. You guys can see that. Yeah, now let's also pulse the background. We're gonna make it like an eye. So color 2 is gonna pulse to something different, and we're also gonna add that into the random just so that it's always random. It's pretty cool. So I would say let's pulse it like that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we're gonna do touch like that, and then this one goes into here. let's make it maybe a bit more yellowish. This one like that, make pure red. And in here, I'm actually gonna change color to, right? Color to, I don't know. Let's see, maybe this might look cool, but we're gonna see. Yeah, dude, that's so phenomenal. Dude, that's so much better. That's so cool. All right, cool. So how do we make this even cooler? I kind of feel like the effect of the perspective has kind of gone away because some of these balls are just not scaling up as enough, which means that some of these values are a bit too low. So we're gonna get rid of these, and we're gonna make this one 1.3 instead of 0 actually 1. Oops. All right, and these guys are 1.1 and 1.2. So the maximum it could go is 1.3. The minimum is 0.8. 0.8 is too low. I'm gonna do 9. Yeah, I forgot to change that as well. But let's also make it scale a bit more. So let's do 2.2. Why not? And then in here, of course, 2.2 as well. So now you guys should see that that's yeah. Now the balls are actually increasing in size, and also I kind of want them to go to the left more. So I'm gonna add a copy this one, make them go to the left in some really long time. 9.11, and now the balls are kind of like traveling towards the left. I feel like it's a bit too low, so I'm gonna have to do a bit faster. So now let's give it a try and see how that's going to be. That's so cool, dude. Dude, this is actually pretty hard. And what's awesome about it is that if you go up, like, he's gonna chase you still. So you can add obstacles to this to make it even cooler, but yeah, it really depends on what you are looking for. So yeah, I think this is pretty cool. So again, to make it more reaction time, just move this to the left and this one a bit 20 maybe. Let's give it a try now. All right, yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, I think we are done now, so let's give it a try. First thing, of course, we're gonna do this, and yeah, I think that's it. Let me just add an object at the very end so that the level doesn't end. And now with 311 objects only, we have created a beautiful boss fight. All right, we're gonna bring up the heat, and now you guys are gonna hear that yeah, this is so cool, dude. It is so phenomenal. Give it a try. Oh my god. All right, that's pretty cool. So you can go ahead and make this untouched if you want to. Not untouched, I mean you can make it like limited so that you are stuck with the boss fight. And yeah, never mind, that's not a good idea. Also, we're gonna make this one on hide. This one we're gonna make free fly mode. And the reason why the monster breaks in the end is because we're actually shooting a lot too much, and the triggers break if you do too much rotation and scaling at the same time, too many times. So yeah, that's actually so phenomenal. Oh my god, that's so hard. All right, let's give it a try and see. Okay, all right, yeah, that's actually so hype. Let's go, we did it. That was so cool. Okay, skeletal boss. So I'm gonna do it like that. So you can pretty much adjust this as you want to basically achieve the effect that you want or certain things that you want. So yeah, I think otherwise it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna upload this as that, and you guys are gonna find the idea right here. If you guys want, feel free to rewatch this tutorial as many times as you want so that you can exactly get the effects that you exactly want. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to learn more about the Geometry Dash editor, make sure to check out the playlist that is on the screen right now, and I will see you guys in there. Bye bye.